Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I know that a lot of you have had a lot of interest in my taking a look at this newest lens for the Sony FE mount, and that is the 24-105 f4G OSS lens. And so I've been shooting with the lens already for several weeks as a part of my A7R III review, but I haven't necessarily been doing specific coverage of the lens. But I'm going to be beginning that as I push a little bit further into this. And so today we're going to take a first look at some of the build, the design, the feature list, the handling of this lens. And so I can begin to give you a sense of, how it balances here, how it performs on the new A7R III, and of course, by extension on other Sony full frame or APS-C E-mount bodies. And so we're going to jump in and we're going to take a closer, more detailed look at this lens together. Okay, we're going to take a closer look here at the new Sony 24-105 millimeter. This is the f4G OSS lens. And it is a really nice pairing for the new Sony A7R III, as I've got it mounted on here. And as you can see, it it balances well on this body, and while it's not a small lens at the same time, it certainly works within the framework of what we have here. So let's just take a little bit closer look at some of the design of the lens itself. As you can see, we've got a single zoom extension that extends as you zoom towards 105 millimeters, and so everything works as it should there. Now, as for the focus ring here on a Sony FE body, manual focus, of course, is focus by wire, and so the input here is going to be, taken and input through the camera body. And so as far as the actual manual focus goes, you get the automatic magnification of the image as you start to zoom, and so that helps with manual focus. However, unfortunately, like most, focus by wire type system, there's not a lot of feedback here. Neither, of course, is there any kind of hard stop. And so, unless the camera is on and engaged, you can turn that ring forever. So it's not my favorite system, but unfortunately, that's kind of the way it works with mirrorless. One nice additional feature here is that, of course, you have the button here on the side, which you, in the camera body, you can program for different functionality. My preferred setting is to have IAF accompanied with that, and so that way you can very quickly go to IAF if you're using that. Now, the lens itself, it does have which I'm happy to have. It does have the autofocus manual focus switch right there. So rather than having to go into the menu options to enable manual focus, you can just, quickly go into it there. That's a nice plus. Same applies to the OSS optical steady shot in that you can turn it on and off. Now, if you try to make that change in the camera body, I've got a steady shot assigned to custom button 2. You will get this warning that tells you that you need to control it from there. And so a few times early on, because I'm accustomed to that being my workflow, I would hit it and get that warning. But of course, you've got a switch there, and so it's easy to deal with that as second nature. The nice thing, of course, with Sony lenses like this is that the OSS in the lens works in conjunction with the steady shot in the camera body. The end result is, of course, you get a lot of stability, and and so it's an effective system. Now, lens hood itself is pretty much what you would expect here. It does have not kind of a felt flocking so much to that extent as what Canon L series, but there is kind of a matte type finish that you can tell is designed to keep light from bouncing around in there. Up front, you have what is a pretty standard 77 millimeter front filter thread, and I've seen that on most lenses that follow this kind of focal length. Beyond that, you also have, which I'm always happy to see, on the front element there is actually a fluorine coating, which means that it's more resistant to fingerprints and moisture, and that further helps with the actual moisture resistance of the lens. And the lens is both dust and weather sealed, and so there is both the gasket here at the lens mount, and then also internal seals. And language, I mean, I haven't been able to torture test it, nor do I really do that, but language seems to be pretty optimistic about that. And so the lens, kind of barrel and design, while it's a mix of metals and then, engineered plastic segments, it does feel less plasticky to me than what Canon's latest 24-105 f4L IS Mark II lens was, which actually felt a little bit cheaper to me. And this lens does have a premium feel to it. Of course, it also does have a premium price, and it is going to set you back nearly $1,300. And so it's not cheap. That the lens can focus down quite closely, just 1¼ feet or 38 centimeters, where it gives you a very nice 1 to 3.2 magnification ratio, or that is 0.31 times. So, I mean, almost a third life-size reproduction, which of course extends the versatility. This is, kind of one of the best one-size-fits-all lenses you're going to find for Sony FE, that still gives you good image quality and, professional results. And so that further extends its usefulness to have such a great magnification figure. 9 rounded aperture blades inside, and bokeh quality seems to be fairly decent. It's never going to be exceptional from a lens like this, but it seems to be pretty good in my experience there so far. And so rounded aperture blades help, of course, as the lens is stopped down. And as you can see here, as it's stopped way down inside, it actually still is retaining, if you can see inside there, it still is retaining quite a circular shape, even with it fully closed down, as is kind of standard when the Sony body is powered down. And so that's good. Fairly complex optically, 17 elements and 14 groups. But of course, this is a pretty challenging focal length and zoom range to, to design for. So all in all, this lens, in terms of the build and the handling, it does pretty much everything that I would expect it to. Now the lens itself is 3.28 inches in diameter. That's 83.4 millimeters. And it is 4.46 inches or 113.3 millimeters long. That is retracted, of course, and as you can see, when you zoom out to 105 millimeters, you're going to add a couple of inches, 2.5 inches, 3 inches to that overall length. The weight itself is a little under 1.5 pounds, 663 grams. That, makes it, while not light necessarily on this body, it's certainly not so heavy that you're going to feel front heavy. The balance to me feels fine on the lens. And, the weight of the lens is fairly close to the weight of the camera body. And so I don't think that there's really a major kind of balance issue there. So as you can see from a handling, build, kind of specification standpoint, there's really nothing to complain about here. This is a nicely made lens. It handles well. And so in our next episode, we'll break down how it performs optically and give you a look at that. And I'll also be giving you kind of some of my feelings on the lens, how it compares to similar 24-105 millimeter lenses that I have used in the past. And so we'll sum all of that up in our next episodes. So stay tuned for that, as well as my ongoing coverage of the Sony a7R III. In the meantime, if you'd like to take a look in the description down below, I've got an image gallery going there, and so you can take a look at some of the photos I'm producing from the lens as I continue on in this review. Thanks for watching today, and if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button. Have a great day.